From the studios in San Diego, California, this is Mixed Up Sports on MixedUpSports.com, powered by Twitch.tv. Here on this Football Friday, it is the 15th day of January 2016. My name is Frank Marchese, Cruiser Ryan to my left, Nick Sexton to my right. Guys, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Doing good.
We will dedicate pretty much the second half of the program uh, to the divisional round coming up this week. A lot of coaches taken off the list as far as teams and who's going where. Ben McAdoo, as expected, was promoted to the head coaching position for the New York Giants. We also had Chip Kelly go out to San Francisco. Mike Smith was named the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs also announced their new head coach, Coder. I'm sure somebody will yell at me about that. But a lot of coaching changes, a lot of big changes that we will get to here in this first set. But we'll start with the New York Giants. McAdoo, a lot of people have said coming into New York from Green Bay, that he was essentially fast tracked to get the coaching job after Coughlin. They had to basically get Coughlin to like McAdoo, and to be honest, he was really um, the only real option that the Giants had even put out there. Uh, I genuinely, Krusha, you know him a little bit better than I do. How well do you think this is going to work as far as the head coaching spot?
Well, as far as head coaching is, you don't really change up too much because you want to stick with what you know. And clearly, he's the guy. He's been there already a year, and plus, it's someone that even Eli felt comfortable with on offense. He even stated that this was the main guy he wanted after Coughlin left. So honestly, I think if your quarterback's already behind it, essentially you're already in a better place than you were last time. The fact that you have your starting quarterback, who's pretty much the captain, the leader of this offense and this team, the fact that he's behind them already states great things to come for this football team. Granted, their defense needs a little bit of work, but if you're going to start at one place, you might as well start at a place that you're comfortable with and And for Eli and for the New York Giant offense with Odell and all them, this couldn't have gone better as far as sticking with a system that and possibly making it better.
Yeah, I mean, with Coughlin going out, that was a big change. And so, how do you follow it up? Well, you promote someone who was under Coughlin for a year plus. I mean, it makes sense because he knows what Coughlin liked to do, and he might emulate some of those same characteristics that Coughlin did. I'm not saying he's the next Tom Coughlin, but it makes sense in going out and hiring someone like you mentioned, Krusha. All the offensive players are familiar with the system, and so that helps out things. And I think this was a good hire for the Giants.
When you talk about New York, you don't necessarily think of a building project. You don't think of, definitely one word you don't think of is patience. But that's what the Giants and Giant fans are going to have to definitely be with Ben McAdoo. It's his first head coaching job. They are going to have to be extremely, extremely patient. McAdoo will get his 3-year trial run unless he pulls a John Idzik and completely blows it up in his first season. But it's not the marquee hiring. It's not the billboard hiring that's going to get people to say, you know what, here we are, back to the Super Bowl, here we go. This is a hiring for the future. This is a hiring to pretty much give Eli a chance not to change, even though he's going through a large amount of change. I think it's going to take maybe a year, possibly two, before you start seeing real results out of McAdoo. But I hold out hope that it will come sooner. Um, Nick, now right down your alley. This was announced actually not all that long before we got on air here. The Chargers have signed offensive coordinator Ken Wisenhunt, who was their offensive coordinator in 2013. Are you happy with that move?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because, like you said, he was there in 2013, and in that year, the Chargers had the fifth best offense in the entire league. And then he was lured away by the Titans and eventually fired, as we know. And so this move made the most sense because who else to bring in as an offensive coordinator than someone who had success with the team a couple of years before? And as a Charger fan, I'm really excited for what they can do next year if we can stay healthy with Ken Wisenhunt back. I mean, when we had Ken Wisenhunt, we actually had a decent, not great, a decent running game. And so hopefully he can help Melvin Gordon and turn him into the superstar running back that we all thought we had when we drafted him.
For the Chargers' sake, we're hoping that not only does this help, but they can somehow find, um, some help with players staying healthy and hopefully having that factor because so far a lot of their star players, Keenan Allen was injured. A lot of them have just stated that it's just riddled with injuries, and you have an O line who hasn't really blocked at all for Philip Rivers. You're running with them bringing him back. That this will jumpstart this offense and bring it back to its 2013 year where they were a top offense and a team that you would be scared to go up against. We're hoping that it goes back to them for the Chargers' sake, but time will tell with what happens.
It definitely does. It's a hire that definitely does seem to make sense, and for what is possibly going to be the new LA Chargers. As we found out earlier this week, the St. Louis Rams are officially going back to Los Angeles. The Chargers and the Raiders both had the option to join them in Inglewood after finding out that after finding out the Chargers had the first pick at that option. The Raiders bowed out. They will take their $100 million compensation from the NFL to help build a new stadium. The question out here, especially, is how much longer do we have to wait before the Chargers announce we're going to Los Angeles?
Personally, for Charger fans, I have a feeling that those dreaded words are going to come down. It's it's going to be real soon. I feel like we're going to know before training camp, obviously, before any of that goes down. Possibly even before the Super Bowl. But I really don't think it's going to have that much effect as far as news. With the whole, if we hear it by then, like I said, the Super Bowl, the playoffs will be a huge part. So if anything, they're going to wait till that dies down and possibly after the season, which it could be, like I said, before training camp, which it's most likely going to happen that we're going to see a bunch of, sad Charger fans because they're in San Diego because there will no longer be a team in San Diego from what we hear and see. So I know I have to say apologize to Nick because he's the Charger fan in this group here, but you may not have a team in San Diego coming up very soon.
I mean, it's tough because to know that, or it's tough to know that there's uncertainty surrounding your football team as to where they will be next year. But I mean, you said they have the option, but I've heard reports that the mayor Kevin Faulconer has talked to Dean Spanos, and the issue always was that Spanos wanted the stadium downtown near Petco Park, and Faulconer didn't want. He wanted it in Mission Valley, so there's that issue, and I've heard that Falconer is becoming more open to the downtown possibility. So, I mean, I feel like I might be grabbing at straws here, but but hopefully the Chargers can stay in San Diego because I don't know how successful they'll be in LA with LA pretty much being either old school Rams fans, You got Raiders fans, 49ers fans, maybe some Charger fans, but I don't. I hope they stay in San Diego.
Here's the thing that really gets me going about the talk of the Chargers moving downtown or a stadium moving downtown. They're going to build it in the area of the train yard near where they just put up that new Hilton, the one that exploded a couple of years ago. Remember that there was an explosion in the car park.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
with that.
Um, Petco Park is right next to it. Can you imagine? Just imagine the Padres on a Sunday afternoon in the middle of a in the middle of a pennant race. Sunday afternoon in September, football season. You have a 45,000 seat stadium at Petco Park. Then you're going to have at least a 70,000 seat football stadium right across the street in a downtown location. Congratulations, you have shut transportation in that city down completely. No one is going to be able to move at all when you're shuffling that many people. When you're shuffling about 1,400,000 people in a small area, all of them are going to be using cars, all of them are going to be using public transport. You have completely gridlocked the entire system downtown. It's going to make the entire downtown area immobile.
Well, I mean, if the stadium ends up being built downtown, I assume they'll be able to schedule the game, so hopefully that won't happen. Uh,
Again, that's also counting on the fact the Padres are actually in a pennant race, which seems a
yeah,
long way
Yeah,
off.
I was about to bring
yeah,
that up there.
that's probably a good 5 years out, so I think we're good for at least that much. But I mean, I guess Spanos wants it to be kind of that sports mecca downtown where there's, you know, it's the spot to be on a Charger game because there's so much around that you can do. So,
But it's San Diego. It's not Los Angeles. It's not New York. It's not a mega city. It's San Diego. It's a major city. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a mega city that can handle something like that in a little area.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the issue is that Spanos really wants to turn San Diego. He wants to be in that LA setting, and that's why he wants to be downtown. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, so I feel like that might be the issue, and I don't know. If it gets the charge to stay in San Diego, I'm okay with it, but it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see how this plays out.
You're not
but
going to be
for
okay with going and leaving the game, though.
yeah, that's the whole point. Is that San Diego is so jam packed, and it has everywhere you turn, you're running into five different buildings because that's all there is. It's completely compact into a small area. It's downtown is there's no space for anything. So that one spot that they plan on building a stadium, there's going to be a lot of stuff that needs to go down and a lot of efforts to make that possible. Granted, you would say that they were going to get $100 million if they decided to stay, but even with that, like you had stated, Frankie, that it's going to be so hard to leave anywhere. Traffic's already bad down there. It's that area in locale is just not the greatest. Personally, Mission Valley would have been a better spot. But the fact that he wants to be in a more LA setting, well, then here's my simple solution: go to LA.
In 2013, me and my grandparents went to a Met game in the middle of August. Okay. Met Padres, middle of August. Mets are third place, sort of irrelevant. Padres are fourth place, completely irrelevant. I had to take them from one end of downtown to the other, and I could not get to Harbor Drive. I couldn't get to the Ring Road. It took me an hour and a half in the on a Thursday night to drive from one end of the city to the other. Just imagine what that's going to be like if there's a football stadium down there. It's going to, unless they're running a trolley every 30 seconds, there's no way they're going to be able to keep the traffic moving.
Yeah, I mean that'll be difficult to contain, and that's why I feel like Falconer is trying to move it towards Mission Valley is because he sees that happening. And I mean that's why I'm holding out hope that maybe just maybe the Chargers might take the 100 million and just go to Mission Valley where it'll be less traffic than down well, way less traffic, excuse me, downtown or than downtown. But I mean that's why I'm cautiously optimistic about the Chargers.
Yeah, it's we just gotta see where everything goes from there. Like I said, back to the whole LA situation. LA has the Rams right now, and Chargers still have the opportunity to go and join them. Whether or not they take it, like I said, I have a feeling that they will, but we'll find out more as far as later down the road, whether or not it's after the Super Bowl, before Super Bowl. Anyways, Charger fans just gotta look up and hopefully just pray that their team will stay.
I was looking up the numbers on this because one of my friends brought up that that the Chargers are playing at Petco Park for free. Why would they move to Inglewood, where they would go and have to pay rent? And I was looking up. The Chargers don't own Qualcomm Stadium. Qualcomm Stadium is owned by the city of San Diego. But looking at the numbers, from 2006 to 2013, the San Diego Chargers have have been paid. They've owed $23 million dollars to the city of San Diego in rent. Instead, because of rent rewards and legal fees and all this, they've actually gotten paid $3.2 million dollars to play there. The last time the Chargers actually paid rent was 2006 when they played 2 playoff games there. So they really are playing there for free.
Yeah, I mean, but they are playing there for free, but that stadium was built to be a baseball stadium, not a football stadium. I mean, it's some 50 years old, so there's a there's a reason that that they're they're playing there for free. So, granted, they are, but I think Spanos has just gotten tired of it and wants the biggest and best stadium in the league, and so like we've mentioned, it'll be an interesting weeks, couple weeks, couple months leading up to this, however long it takes. And I like I said before, I hope they stay in San Diego, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, it's we've stated this up and down. Chargers just need as of right now they need to focus on their football team, which they have with signings. Bringing on a new offensive coordinator, allowing them to be different. So maybe with them having this off season, they really need to think about it and go from there as far as team and playbook and as personnel, and just let the ownership and all that stuff deal with location as of right now. So like we said, we'll find out soon.
It really is interesting. I mean, it's a lot of politics. It's a lot of interesting happenings going on, especially throughout the entirety of the NFL landscape. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. When we return, we will give you our analysis for this weekend's games, also our picks when we return. Don't go